Lakers' chances of signing Paul George looking worse as Thunder keeps rolling. For more than a year, the Los Angeles Lakers have targeted Paul George as part of a free agent class in 2018 that they hope can turn around their moribund franchise. So they couldn't have loved the comments George, who currently plays for Oklahoma City, made to ESPN ahead of Wednesday night's Lakers-Thunder game. "I've got a lot to think about," George said. "This summer will be huge. I've got a lot to think about. If we're trending, if we're going in the right direction, if I feel there is something that we're building, and there's a foundation, it would be kind of clueless, just stupid on my behalf to up and leave. I'm very conscious that we're only together for a year so far, and we continue to go in an upward trend. It's best to stick with what we have and work on building. So, I wouldn't say it's championship or bust, or championship and I'm out. It's all about building. If I like where we're building or the level that we're going at, it would be stupid to walk away from that." Isaiah Thomas is back. What does it mean for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Those comments, and the Thunder's dominant 133-96 victory, make the chances of the Lakers pulling off that free agent coup look far slimmer than they'd like. The Lakers still seem to believe they are one of the dominant franchises in basketball. Instead, they are the second-worst team in the NBA over the past 4 years, posting a dreadful 91-237 record. Only the Philadelphia 76ers, 75-253, have been worse. The difference? Philadelphia has a pair of young players, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, with whom stars would like to play. The Lakers, on the other hand, have some intriguing young players, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma, but none is yet the kind of talent that would draw on a star such as George. That certainly didn't change Wednesday night, as George, Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony combined for 65 points as the Thunder obliterated the Lakers for their 8th win in 11 games, and their 13th in their past 18. The Lakers, meanwhile, have lost 11 of 12, had a team meeting last week and are now the second-worst team in the NBA. Kuzma ripped his own team after the latest loss, saying they flat-out gave up. Needless to say, the team that is trending in the right direction is the Thunder. "I think we've just started to accept what each of our roles will be on this team, and our roles in our previous teams won't be the same," Anthony said in an interview on SportsCenter early Thursday morning. "Once we figured that out and accepted that, we've started to play much better basketball and guys are more comfortable out there and it's a lot more fun when you play like that. Now for the obvious qualifier, it's early January, a full 6 months before George has to make his choice. But today, the Thunder should feel better about where they stand in the race than they did before getting to Los Angeles." The 100 questions that will define the NBA in 2018. It looked like the San Antonio Spurs were going to pull off one of their typical unexpected victories Wednesday night. Despite being without Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili and Danny Green, San Antonio led, 101-100, with 2:49 remaining after Patty Mills buried a three-pointer. They had held the Philadelphia 76ers to one made field goal in the prior 3.5 minutes. Thus, it was confusing to see Spurs coach Greg Popovich decide at that moment to employ the hack-a-Simmons strategy, sending the rookie to the foul line on 2 straight possessions. Simmons made one of 2 free throws the first time, then after LaMarcus Aldridge made a bucket to give the Spurs a 2-point lead, he made both free throws to tie the score at 103. "You don't think the guy can make the free throw, so you foul him," Popovich told reporters in Philadelphia. "Pretty smart stuff, huh?" It wound up giving Philadelphia life, as Simmons then converted in one layup to give his team a 3-point lead with 1:41 remaining en route to a 112-106 victory. Given how listless Philadelphia looked before Popovich sent Simmons to the line, it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if he just had his team play defense. Instead, the Sixers picked up a big win. There were plenty of reasons to look forward to Wednesday night's game between the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers. Then the game started, and they all disappeared. There wasn't a lot to take from Boston's 102-88 victory. Isaiah Thomas didn't make his return to TD Garden, sitting out after making an impressive season debut in Cleveland the night before. The Cavaliers looked like an old team playing the second half of a back-to-back against a young, good, rested opponent, shooting 34.8% overall and 8 for 32, 25%, from three-point range. Kevin Love and Jay Crowder were a combined 3 for 23 and 0 for 10 from three-point range before Love exited with an ankle injury. The win did put a bow on the first half for Boston, the first team to reach the midway point of the season due to a road trip to London later this month. The Celtics are 31-10, tops in the Eastern Conference, with the league's best defense and fourth-best net rating. Not bad for a team that lost arguably its best player 6 minutes into the season. The result also left LeBron James in a philosophical mood. "I'm always concerned about teams getting better, but I'm more concerned about us getting better and better," James said. "That's the bigger thing. Washington and obviously this team right here. Miami is playing better and better. Toronto is playing exceptional basketball right now. The East is pretty dang good this year, and right now we're not so good, then, great, then, not so good. We'll see what happens next." He's right, the East is better this year. But Cleveland still should be considered a strong favorite to make it back to the finals. The New York Knicks rode a home-heavy early schedule to a nice start, but now the road games are coming, and they are falling apart. Wednesday's loss in Washington marked the 7th in 9 games. And New York is 3-13 away from Madison Square Garden. 11 of their 14 remaining January games are on the road, and how the Knicks handle that stretch will determine whether they can remain in the playoff race come. The guess here is that they won't. When Harrison Barnes made a nice move down the lane and made a layup with 12 seconds to go in regulation against his former team, the Golden State Warriors, it looked like the Dallas Mavericks would have a chance to extend their 4-game winning streak. Stephen Curry hits the ground shooting, and torches the Grizzlies in return from injury, but Stephen Curry had other ideas, coming off a Draymond Green screen, pulling up at the top of the key before Dirk Nowitzki could react and burying a three-pointer to give the Warriors a 125-122 victory. Draymond set a great screen, and caught Yogi Ferrell by surprise, Curry told reporters in Dallas, and I was able to get to my spot and knock it down. This end-of-game sequence was interesting. The Warriors broadcast team criticized Barnes for going too fast, but a team trailing by 2 is not going to wait for the final shot. There needs to be a chance at an offensive rebound or, in the worst-case scenario, to foul and hope for a missed free throw and get the ball back. Then Kerr chose not to call timeout, allowing the Warriors to come up and run a play in the flow of the game, which almost always is the right way to go. It proved to be this time, and the Warriors got a win because of it. The Brooklyn Nets beating the Minnesota Timberwolves was noteworthy for 2 reasons. The first is this remarkable stat: Brooklyn outscored Minnesota by 39 points from the three-point line. The Nets were 14 for 30. The Timberwolves went 1 for 11. The other was Spencer Dinwiddie burying a game-winning jumper in the lane to give the Nets the win, capping his night with 26 points and 9 assists in 36 minutes. That gives me a chance to promote the podcast I recorded with Dinwiddie last month in Mexico City. It was a revealing look at a guy who has taken full advantage of the opportunity presented to him this season by the injuries to Jeremy Lin and D'Angelo Russell. Read more. Traditional big men, nearly extinct in the NBA, nevertheless pack the 2018 draft class. Draymond Green is wrong. Kevin Durant shouldn't win Defensive Player of the Year. Google NBA founder and brace yourself. Its answer is LeVar Ball. Knicks Ron Baker shows off black eye from devastating dunk by